Welcome to Screen Recaps, and today we are going to recapping the movie The Mill. Joe awakens to find himself imprisoned within a building that resembles a jail in the first scene of the movie. The open sky edifice, which has a massive stone mill in the center and thick walls covering all sides, is closed off from the outer world. At that moment, he hears a man's voice from the adjacent cell, alerting him to the next stage that Joe is going through, which involves more pain and confusion. Joe tries to climb the wall but is unable to do so because he is confused. One of the guards drops a water bottle and some simple candies, while Joe struggles to comprehend his new situation. Joe works at Mallard as a middle manager. Excited to become a parent, he has prioritized his personal life above the business as his wife awaits their first kid. Nevertheless, putting his life before his career has caused him to perform worse, which landed him in jail. The next day, Joe receives instructions from the AI-generated voice that he is now in the company's professional training phase, with working hours ranging from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., and his work involves pushing the stone mill. Along with this, he is informed that he would die if he does not reach his daily minimum quota. The problem is that the 50 revolution minimum quota is only a number, and regardless of whether an employee of the institution meets their quota or not, they will be fired if they receive the lowest number. He completes 100 rotations on the first day, but his neighbor cautions him about pushing himself too hard since Mallard would want more of him every day. But Joe believes that hard labor will be his path to freedom and a reunion with his expectant wife. He makes use of this inspiration and completes 370 spins the next day. But Mallard, being a normal corporation, doesn't appreciate Joe's work and instead gives him an engraved pen as a gift. When Mallard realizes that nothing matters to him, he becomes agitated and says terrible words. Joe has discovered that his new quota is 370. In addition, he has been fined for his actions, meaning that every 2 revolutions will now count as 1, making his new quota 740. The image effectively conveys the idea of setting impossible standards and pressuring staff members to go above and above, wearing them out with unreachable objectives. On that particular day, Joe, who has been working hard despite being worn out and yearning for independence, doesn't meet his daily goal. The next day, Mallard inspires Joe to put in a lot of effort and get back to his regular life by playing video of his wife. Joe, who is confused by the time difference and desperate to escape from prison, puts in a lot of effort the following day and completes 740 revolutions. A sudden urge to break out of the prison during a conversation with his neighbor, pointing to a weak spot, leads him to begin chipping away at the wall with the pen that is away from the Mallard camera inside the cell. Joe succeeds in chipping a hole large enough for him to crawl through a few days later. Joe is brought back to his cell after being apprehended by the prison guard, and realizing that there is no way out, he receives a new quota from Mallard to complete 1,000 revolutions as punishment. The man in the next cell explains to him that while he was working with Mallard in the tech team, he was one of the men who helped the company develop an algorithm that created its own algorithm and now controls the entire Mallard. Joe yells that what is happening to them is unacceptable after being startled. He attempts to persuade his cellmates not to work by organizing a union with them. Everyone stays away from the mill for the entire day, but Mallard AI declared that Joe would be held accountable for Joe's failure to complete the daily task, which would result in mass termination. The man in the next cell is unable to turn around because the guards broke his legs as retaliation for helping Joe pull off his escape. Everyone, including Joe, slowly returns to turning the mill because they fear death. Joe is curious about the name Alex and approaches the man in the adjacent cell after noticing it engraved on the mill handle. The man turns out to be Alex, who was moved to a different cell following his abortive attempt to break out of prison. Then Joe says goodbye, knowing that Alex will die as a result of not being able to complete his daily task. As he falls asleep, Joe shakes in agony and hears Alex screaming in pain as the guards kill him. The following day, Mallard AI releases more video of his grown-up little boy son. He gets angry when he realizes how much time he could have wasted in this cell. The AI then declares that he is being fired immediately due to his inappropriate behavior. At that moment, a number of Mallard's staff members enter, accompanied by an HR representative who is getting ready to give Joe a fatal injection. He becomes even more enraged as a result of the HR's persistent gaslighting and Mallard's tactics, and he begins smashing the man in the face. He pauses when he realizes the man is going to die, screaming to the Mallard AI that he wants to stop and that he is not a monster. Joe is brought back to reality by the words, "I quit," and finds himself in a simulation setup akin to a lab. In order to record his brain activity, tiny brain monitors are taped to his forehead, and he is dressed professionally. It turns out that Mallard has created a virtual reality environment similar to the gaming industry in order to challenge and motivate their staff to reach their maximum potential. During one of his lunch breaks, Joe, who has always stood out for his performance, had decided to take on this training program. He spent the entire hour fully submerged in this prison environment. The HR professional he had attempted to harm while imprisoned is, in fact, an actual HR professional. We find out that Mallard is prepared to give Joe a promotion to the management division because he is so impressed with his abilities. After that, HR shows him around his new office and gives him an orientation on his new goals and productivity standards. They even have Joe sign a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, promising not to tell anyone about the Mallard experience. If not, he risks ruining his career. Broken Joe sticks silently to everything the HR representative says. After being left alone in his cabin, he surprises his wife in the middle of his workday by pulling his phone out of his blazer and making a call. Joe tells his wife how much he loves and appreciates her, even saying he is looking forward to meeting his unborn child. And with that, he tells his wife he'll be coming home late.
I thought I was